Hi there everyone, it's Tony Paladin, Managing Partner at LCP Global Sports Consulting Group, and this evening I'd like to ask the question: if you are the Chief Marketing Officer or the Vice President of Partnerships for a global brand or company, and you'd like to get involved in sports, where do you start? Now, this might seem like a simple answer to my question, but it's actually not. If you're seeing all the fun that brands are having sponsoring sport, and you can see how quote unquote cool sports is, and you're looking to get a decent return on investment and really activate your brand, it should be a pretty logical thing, like just sponsor a sport. This is a very broad term, and the world of sports partnerships can be very convoluted, and there are a lot of rabbit holes that you can go down. So although I could break this up into a million different pieces, I'm just going to outline 5 things that's a really simple go-to, just in terms of fitting in with your broader marketing objectives for your brand, and just see what fits. I think once you've more or less worked out where the fit is, then you can choose the sport, and choose the sport that's going to represent you and your brand and your company. So the easiest place to start in terms of a partnership would be looking at sponsoring either an athlete or a team. This is pretty straightforward. It's basically a brand aligning with an athlete or a team to improve your exposure and boost your credibility. A simple example of this would be Red Bull and Max Verstappen, or Nike and Cristiano Ronaldo. And yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. And there's some really good pros to it. Pros like strong fan loyalty, high media reach. It's a pretty agile and nimble relationship. Obviously, there are going to be some downsides, like risk of reputational damage, or potentially like limited exclusivity, but it's a pretty good place to start. From there, we could probably move on to looking at sponsorship of a major rights holder. So if you ask what is a major rights holder, it's basically the custodian of a sport. So it's the body that looks after the commercial property and the rules and regulations of the sport in total. An example of this could be SailGP or FIFA. And effectively it's partnering with a governing body and looking to get exclusivity and global reach within that sport as a whole. A good example of this could be Rolex and SailGP, or Louis Vuitton and Formula One. And there's some pretty good pros and unfortunately some cons with this. The pros are unmatched prestige. I mean, you are the brand associated with that sport, and more often than not, you get exclusivity on your rights. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a downside. This can be costly, and more than that, it often requires really, really strong activation. So moving from here, we're going to take a slight sidestep from the major rights holder and look at a season-long league sponsorship. So in effect, a season-long sponsorship basically provides continuous visibility across a sport and across its teams. And generally, a season-long league, the league runs a good 10 months, 11 months of the year. So you are pretty much guaranteed of consistent exposure. An example of this would be Barclays and the Premier League. And there are some really, really good pros here. Huge audience, and there's a lot of sustainability in terms of your branding. Unfortunately, the cons are expensive and again needs consistent activation. At this particular point, I'm just going to point out that a lot of people confuse major rights holders, i.e. the custodians of a sport, with a league. Premier League versus FIFA, the FIA versus the Grand Prix, Formula One. More often than not, a league and a major rights holder can actually be the same body, and a lot of times they're not. Like I said earlier, the big difference between the two is that the major rights holder is the one that actually controls the rules and the commercial rights, whereas the league is more the organization of a consistent and annual competition. Taking a step off from here, the fourth type of partnership or sponsorship, if we were to take a league and we take a fracture off of that, is going to be the sponsorship of a major event. So if we consider that a league, which could be a major rights holder, is a series of events over a season, you'll get certain sports that have one event. For example, the Olympic Games, the Commonwealth Games, Wimbledon. So pretty much the sponsoring of major events, it delivers extreme high impact, visibility, but often it's short term. An example of this would be AB InBev, which is Corona and the Olympic Games. And like I said, the pros for this is huge audience, incredible activations. You can see your sales jump through the roof. The cons, unfortunately, are very, very short-lived exposure, and it's a very crowded space to be. So although on the upside of this, you get massive impact and exposure, unfortunately, with something like the Olympics, you do have to wait every 4 years, unless you really capitalize on the storytelling and the exposure on the build-up and the lead into the Olympics. Finally, it brings us on to our fifth type of sponsorship, which is venue or naming rights. So effectively, this is the long-term branding of a stadium or a training ground, and you basically get premium positioning out of this. An example would be the Allianz Arena for Bayern Munich, and the pros with this are obvious: continuous exposure, strong brand association. Your brand basically becomes ubiquitous with that particular venue. Unfortunately, along with it, there comes high cost, and the return on investment often depends on foot traffic. And the other thing is that a lot of the time the media has to be renewed on an annual basis, which also, and the branding gets quite expensive. So I know quite a random video, but I really, really hope that this could help you a little bit. Once you've identified the type of partnership that you're looking for, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to actually choose the sport, the price range, and the type of activation that you're looking for. Anyway, if you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm here to help anytime. Myself, my team really can field any questions, no matter how big or small. And look to helping you move forward and making your ideal sponsorship become a partnership, ultimately become a strong relationship. Anyway, take care and have a good evening. Cheers.